Now we talk about accessories and abettors. Now, accessories and abettors are those who are not directly involved in the actus reus of the offense, right? So, let me illustrate again. So Wonder Woman, Supergirl, they committed robbery already, and then they are going to they they want to escape, right? Somehow Supergirl couldn't fly. Maybe there was kryptonite nearby, right? So it's like, oh no, we need help to run away. Okay, we have committed robbery and we need help to run away. And guess who came? Iron Man. Okay, this is a different this is a different timeline. Okay, so Iron Man came, right? It's a timeline where Marvel and DC exist together, and Iron Man carries both of them. Come, ladies, hang on to me, and he carries them away. Okay, so you see, in this case, Iron Man wasn't involved in the robbery, but he helped them by escaping, helping them to escape, taking them away. Okay, or maybe another situation would be that Wonder Woman and Supergirl could have their minions, right? The minions could be the one to help them to get ready for the offense, to get information for them, to basically bring them there, drove them there, right? Make sure that the lasso is Wonder Woman's lasso is well. They probably didn't do well about their hair though, but yeah, they usually have all these minions to carry out all their tasks for them to prepare them for the commission of the crime, but not involved in the actual commission of the crime. Okay, so these are the accessories and the actors, right? They are not they did not commit the actus reus of the crime, but they were clearly involved in it. And according to the Accessories and Abettors Act, you can be an accessory or you can be an accomplice, basically, an accessory, in four different ways, right? In four different ways. So the key thing is that they do not perpetrate, they're not a perpetrator, so they do not commit the offense. Instead, according to Section 8, they aid, abet, counsel, or procure, right? Aid, abet, counsel, or procure the commission of any offense. And you will see in Section 8, it makes it very clear that anybody who is an accessory shall be liable and punished as the principal offender. Okay, so same charge and same sentence. Well, same conviction anyway. Same conviction or same sentence. So let's look at it one by one. First, aiding, right? How do you aid? Basically, you offer help, support, or assistance, right? Help, support, or assistance. So one of the easiest way in aiding the commission of an offense is by providing the equipment. You give them the crowbar which they use to break into the house. You give them the weapon which they use to kill the victim, or use the weapon to threaten the victim, right? So you supply the equipment. So this is where the minions come in. They can supply the equipment for those who to carry out the offense, right? Now this we can see this in the case of Crown against Bainbridge, where the accused in this case, well, the person who was charged to be an accessory, he supplied oxygen cutting equipment, right? Oxygen cutting equipment, basically for them to cut through, to break into a building, right? So that's what this oxygen cutting equipment is. It is cut equipment using oxygen to cut into bars, metal, and things like that, right? It's not used to cut oxygen, right? It uses oxygen to cut through things. So he supplied this, and he was held guilty for aiding the main perpetrators, right? But the court made it very clear that it must not be merely suspicion, but there must be knowledge that the crime of the type in question was intended, and the equipment was bought with that in view. Now we're moving on to the menstrual part already, but the actus reus part is basically you supply the equipment to help the criminals in committing their offense. Another example is the case of Crown against Bryce. This was a case where he drove the accused to a location, and then after that, the accused went to the principal offender. He drove the principal offender to a location, and then from there, the principal offender committed the offense. So he was held to have aided him, just like how Iron Man goes and carry them, right, take them away, or take them to the crime scene for them to commit the crime, right? That's what happened in the case of Crown against Price. It was held that there was sufficient causal connection with him driving the principal to that location, and then after that, the principal committing the offense. So that's aiding. Next, we'll be looking at abetting and counseling. Now, for abetting and counseling, Herring says that nobody really knows the meaning of abetting, right? The courts have not really defined, right? Aiding is this, abetting is this, counseling is this. Most of the time, the courts will just say that you are guilty under Section 8 for aiding, abetting, counseling, or procuring the commission of an offense. Some people have said, some writers have said that aiding and abetting are quite similar. Others have said that abetting and counseling are quite similar, right? So basically, abetting and counseling is giving encouragement or giving some advice or giving some information, right? Encouragement, advice, or information. So before Wonder Woman and Supergirl went to commit their offense, they met with Mr. Incredible, and he gave them encouragement. Go for it, right? You girls can do it. Go and rob that person. And I would advise you to do it at this time of the day when that's the best time to do it, right? Giving encouragement, advice, or information. Okay, so he'll be guilty. He's not involved in it, so he's not a perpetrator. Only Supergirl and Wonder Woman are the perpetrators of the offense. So it's jointly perpetrated. The rest of them, right? The minions who aided them, right? Or Iron Man or Mr. Incredible who abet or counsel them to commit the offense, they will be guilty as the secondary party, right? The secondary party. Now, one of the problems that have arisen regarding this is that does the prosecution have to show that this encouragement, advice, or information caused the principal to commit the crime, right? Right? Because he told them go and do it, and therefore what he said made her commit the offense, right? Must there be a causal connection or not? What do you think? Look at the case of Callum, right? Callum, this was a case which involves a private investigator, okay? And the private investigator was hired to kill the victim, right? He was hired to kill the victim, and the private investigator decided to just play along and not kill the victim, but then said that, oh, I tried to, but I failed to do so, right? So what happens is that he went to the victim's house, he confronted the victim panicked and started to scream, and because of that, the investigator also panicked, and then he killed her, right? So he was charged for the offense, and he said that yeah, actually I was sent by the initial woman to commit this offense to kill. And the woman said that yes, I did ask him to kill the victim, but from his own testimony, he said that the reason he killed the victim was not because I asked him to do that. The reason he killed the victim was because she panicked and then he panicked and he killed her. So when I asked him to kill the victim, that didn't cause him to kill the victim. All right. So the counseling did not cause the crime at the end of the day. Now this also was held by the Court of Appeal, right? The counsel is to advise or solicit, and the court said that there is no need for a causal connection as long as the killing was within the authority or advice of the principal. So no need to have a causal connection. Harry gives an illustration in his book. He says that there's Claire, say hi to Claire, and there is Ellie, hi Ellie, and there's Alex. And Claire told Ellie to kill Alex, right? Claire told Ellie to kill Alex. And Ellie said that, well, I was going to kill him anyway. So she takes the gun and kills Alex. So now the problem is that Claire told Ellie to kill Alex, but Ellie said that I was really going to kill him anyway. Now it doesn't matter, right? That what Claire told Ellie to do did not cause her to do it. She was already going to do it anyway, as long as what Claire told Ellie to do was what Ellie did. So Claire will still be guilty of counseling Ellie to kill Alex. Now finally, procure. The classic example of procuring, right? Uh, it's when you do something to cause the perpetrator to commit the offense. So you produce by endeavor a criminal offense, right? You spike the person drink, so causing the person to drive the vehicle in an intoxicated manner. So you have procured the commission of the offense. You caused him to commit the offense. So that's basically procuring. Smith and Hogan differentiates all four of them quite interestingly, right? Uh, they said that in their book, procure implies causation but not consensus. So you must have cause. Procuring means you cause that person to commit the offense, but need not have consensus, right? There doesn't need to be consensus. The person who is caused to do commit the offense, the primary perpetrator, may not have known about it. May not have known about it. Abetting and counseling implies consensus but not causation. Okay, so there must be an agreement as to what is going to be done, but it was not done because of the counseling or abetting. And aiding requires actual assistance, but you don't need consensus and you don't need causation. Now, what about innocent agents? This is where the actus reus is committed by an innocent agent. Okay, a child who's under 10 years old, the presumption is that a child under 10 years old cannot commit an offense. Now, the child under 10 years old, because the child cannot commit offense, the child will not be the perpetrator. So the party who induced the innocent agent will become the principal. Although the party who induced the innocent agent did not commit the actus reus, but he or she induced the innocent agent, and therefore he or she will be considered to be the principal and not the child. Now, can you commit and can you aid and abet, right? Can you be an abetter by omission? The law is that yes, right? You can do so as long as you have the right or power to stop the primary perpetrator. Right? As long as you have the right or power to stop the primary perpetrator. In the case of Bland, this is another Bland's case, not the Anthony Bland case. In this case, it involves a girl who was cohabiting with somebody, right? Her boyfriend was actually involved in smuggling drugs, and she didn't do anything about it. So she was charged as an accomplice by not doing anything, not stopping him from carrying out his criminal activities. Now, the court didn't find her guilty and said that basically she had no right nor power to actually stop him from doing what he was doing. But you compare that with the case of Tuck and Robson. Now, Tuck and Robson involves the owner of a pub, and basically there was this law at that time in 1970 where people are not allowed to drink during certain times of the day. Okay, but these people who were in this pub, the primary perpetrators, they were drinking, so they were committing an offense, and the owner of the pub was charged as an accessory, right? Because he didn't stop them. He didn't stop them from drinking. Now he said that, what do you want me to, what do you want me to do, right? They want to drink. I didn't force them to drink. So how can you say that I have abetted or at least aided and abetted, I've been an accessory in their offense? And the court held that you, as the owner of the pub, had the right or the power to actually stop them from doing that, but he didn't, and therefore he is considered to be an accessory. Similarly, in the case of Ducrot and Lamborn, this was a case where the primary perpetrator was driving and he was speeding, and the person who was sitting next to him uh, didn't do anything about it. Now, the person who was sitting next to him in the car actually was the owner of the car. So the court held that he was an accessory as he had the right or power to stop the primary perpetrator, but he didn't. As the owner, he could tell him, "You're going too fast, please don't go too fast, or please stop the car." But he didn't, and therefore, he's considered to be an accomplice to this offense. And an omission will also be a person who omits to do anything can also be considered to be an accessory or an accomplice. I'm using these terms interchangeably. If the person has a duty to act, right? In the case of Gibson and Gibson and Russell, this is a case which involves family members, parents, right, who have a duty to act to protect their child but didn't do anything about it. So they are considered to be accessory to the crime that was committed. Now we're going to look at the relationship between the accessory or the accomplice to the principal offense. The general rule is found in Thornton and Mitchell. Right, this is the general rule. Uh, mm, Basically, the facts of this case was that the driver of the bus, right, the driver of the bus was reversing, and then the conductor was telling him that it was fine to go, right? It was fine for him to go to reverse. He did, and then he knocked into some people. Now, the general rule is that the accomplice cannot be liable for an offense if the principal has not done anything wrong, right? If the principal has not done anything wrong. And that's what happened in this case. They said that the principal didn't drive recklessly, right? The principal didn't drive without due care of attention. He made sure that he was fine by checking with his conductor. The conductor was the one who actually told him was fine, and therefore bus driver drove. Okay, so both of them were actually charged. Bus driver as the primary perpetrator and the conductor as his accomplice. And because the bus driver did not commit an offense, the conductor also was found to be not guilty. Okay, so you cannot be an accomplice to an act which was not criminal, right? You cannot be an accomplice to an act which is not criminal. You can only be an accomplice to a crime. But if you're an accomplice to do something, a legal act, then it will not be, it will, both of them will not be guilty, right? Take note also the case of Dunnington. Dunnington was a case of being an accomplice to an attempted robbery. Mm. Where they say that there must be an offense. Okay, there must be a primary offense before the accessory can be held to be guilty as an accessory. So in this case, the offense wasn't carried out, but then he was found guilty for attempted robbery, right? So he says that yes, you're charging me for accessory, but there was no robbery. So how can I be an accessory to the robbery? And the court said that, well, you're an accessory to an attempted robbery. Now there are exceptions though. There are exceptions where the first exception in the case of Millward, this is where the principal offense fails. Right? This was a case where he was charged for causing death by a reckless act, and he did right, except that the primary perpetrator, although he caused the death, the court found that he did not have the mens rea. Right? He did not have the mens rea. So the accomplice said that, well, how can I be an accessory to this cause to this crime of causing death by a reckless act if he is found to be not guilty? Okay. Uh, Now the court said that no, you are still guilty even though the primary perpetrator is not guilty. Now the difference between Milward and Thornton and Mitchell is that in Milward, the actus reus was committed. It's just that the principal offender did not have the mens rea and he was acquitted. Whereas in Thornton and Mitchell, there was no actus reus committed. So no crime was committed at all, right? Another exception would be where the principal offender is not charged. So there could be some reason why sometimes the prosecutor decides not to charge the principal offender. Like in the case of Bourne, this was a case where the man made his girlfriend uh, do some unnatural acts with a dog, right? So the woman was the girlfriend was clearly the primary perpetrator. She carried out the act, but obviously she was not charged for that offense. Instead, the boyfriend was charged for making her do it, for procuring the commission of the offense. Now let's look at the mens rea. The actus reus for an accessory is to aid, abet, counsel, and procure. What about mens rea? Mens rea is that the person, the accessory, must intend to assist, encourage, or procure the commission of an offense. Right? And this was confirmed by the Supreme Court in Crown against Joji. And he must also have knowledge. So it's intention and knowledge, not or intention and knowledge of the circumstances required for the actus reus. So he must have intended to assist and he must have known of the circumstances. Tricky part is that how much knowledge does a person need to have before can be considered to be sufficient to amount to the mens rea for the offense of being an accessory. Well, the person must have known that the conduct was capable of assisting or encouraging the principal offense. There is no need. There was no need for the desire that the offense is committed, right? You don't need to show that well, I'm helping because I really want the offense to be committed. And indifference to the result itself does not negative abetting. And this is illustrated in the case of National Coal Board and Gamble. This was a case where well, the accused, primary perpetrator here, bought some coal, loaded up his lorry, and as they were making out of the National Coal Board with the coal, they had to weigh the lorry and the vehicle, and they found that it was overweight, right? So lorries have got the maximum weight they're allowed to carry. But well, they decided to take a gamble and told them that why don't you just let us go? And the National Coal Board actually, well, at least those who weighed the lorry basically allowed them and says that it doesn't matter to me. So he was basically pretty indifferent about the whole thing, right? But clearly he was an accessory. He clearly helped them in committing the offense, and therefore he was found to be guilty as he had the sufficient knowledge and the intention. So motive again doesn't matter as long as there's a sufficient intention. But how much knowledge is needed? So we go back again to the case of Crown against Bainbridge, where it says that you it cannot be just mere suspicion, right? When a person comes to you and says that can you lend me your knife? You may be suspicious. Maybe it's going to take my knife to kill somebody or to rob somebody. Suspicion itself will not is not sufficient for the mens rea as an accessory, but it must be more than that. There must be knowledge that the crime of the type was intended and that the equipment was bought with that in view. You don't need to know the details according to Crown against Bainbridge, as long as he knew that a crime of that type was intended and that the equipment, the oxygen cutter equipment, was bought with that in view. Right, DPP and Maxwell also, this was a case where it says that you don't need to know exactly what they were going to do as long as you knew that it could be one of four possibilities, and it was in fact one of the uh, possibilities that you knew was going to happen, and therefore is considered to be sufficient knowledge. And then victims. Can victims be considered to be accomplices, to be aiding and abetting? And the general rule is no. Right? In the case of Tyrell, where the victim was an underage girl and the accused was charged for statutory rape, the victim was not considered to be an accomplice. Similarly, in the case of White House, this was held that the girl under the age of 16 cannot be found guilty of aiding and abetting in the commission of incest. And also, in the case of Congdon, the prostitute cannot be considered to be an accessory, right, to the pimp, right? There's the offense of living off the proceeds of prostitution. So that's what the pimp is charged for. And the prostitute is the victim, so the prostitute cannot be charged as the accomplice for the offense that the pimp is charged for, right? So that's it for this second method of participation under the Accessories and Abettors Act. Actus reus is to aid, abet, counsel, or procure. So let's just recap again. Aiding is basically offering help, support, or assistance. Abetting and counseling is giving encouragement, advice, or information. You don't need to show a causal link. And procure is to produce by endeavor a criminal offense. Mens rea is that there must be intention to assist, encourage, or procure, as well as knowledge of the circumstances required for the actus reus. When it comes to victims, victims will usually not be charged as abettors or accomplices because public policy protects vulnerable groups. So that brings us to the end, and we will move on now to joint enterprises, or at least the problem that joint enterprises gives us, right? This is a situation where we talked just now, example about two joint perpetrators, uh, Wonder Woman and Supergirl, right? They decided to go and commit robbery. Okay, that was the plan, and they decided to go and do it. What happens if, in the course of robbery, Wonder Woman kills the victim? Right? She kills the victim. Well, will Supergirl also be liable for the homicide or not? Right? Actually, Wonder Woman didn't like the victim at all and decided to kill the victim, so she committed murder. Right? And the question is that will Supergirl also be liable for murder because the plan was to commit robbery, but then something else turned up. Okay, during the course of carrying out their joint perpetration, another offense has been committed. Do you think then Supergirl will also be liable and should also be liable for murder, even though that wasn't part of the plan? Well, we'll talk about this when we have our next lecture on participation.